You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, this is I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. This is your host, Shamaya Reed, and we are here with an awesome show lined up for you today. We are going to talk to Yolanda Valenzuela. She is the CEO of Alamo City Consultants. And right on the jump, I just want to say good morning, ma'am.
Good morning to you, Shamaya.
Man, welcome to the show. This is amazing that we have this opportunity now.
Yeah, this radio gig is definitely amazing, and I'm so proud of you. And what I like about you is you bring to the forefront those nonprofits and those individuals in the community that truly make a difference in the lives of others. And when people hear that, they figure out another way they can help themselves. So that's what I love about Refocus.
It was amazing on this show. You, the listener, you're going to learn all about Alamo City Consultants and what she does. She is a business that helps nonprofit organizations grow. And before we get too deep into that topic, I just want to ask Yolanda, tell the listener a little bit about yourself.
Yolanda Valenzuela, and I have about 18 years of nonprofit experience. I worked with Child Advocate San Antonio CASA for a long time. I was with them for about 15 years. And so I learned all the intricacies of a nonprofit. I left CASA after that long, and I'm doing contract work with Texas CASA, which is a state agency for the 72 CASAs. And I currently also have a contract with Texas CASA that I'm working on with another CASA program in the state. So I do travel as well. I have a bachelor's and a master's, and almost finished with a PhD in psychology, and it's in leadership. And so my hopes are that everything that I've done is so that I can repurpose it and help others. You know, I think the Lord put me on this earth to be a servant leader, and so everything I do on a daily basis, all day, is servant leadership. And giving back to others and strengthening others. And I think I give all the honor and glory to the Lord for that.
And growing up and in school, what was your favorite subject?
I would say my favorite subject was probably accounting.
Okay. Mm-hmm. When it comes to you growing up, how was the household like when you were growing up?
Well, I'm an Army brat. So 3 of us were born in Germany and 1 in North Carolina. We traveled. I was the youngest, so I didn't travel as much as the others. My dad, being retired military, he retired in '89 after 26 years in the Army. And so we had a pretty disciplined household, right? And so I knew that I was going to follow in. My dad's my hero by what he's done, you know, with a second grade education, becoming an E9 in the Army. I knew if he could do that, I could do anything that the Lord put in my vision to be. And that's what I've tried to do.
And when you had that vision of finding what you wanted to do in life, what was that? What was that call? What was that thing that you said, you know, this is what I want to do?
So when I say accounting, my first major in college was accounting, and I did well in it, but I started understanding that I wanted to work with people. I absolutely love human behavior. And so I changed my degree to psychology at that point because I knew that I wanted to work with people, whatever that looked like. And as the years went by, you know, I realized that I really love to work and make sure that the lives of children were improved or better. And so that's when I decided to become a child advocate as a volunteer. And then a year later, I became staff and working with foster kids for, 15, 17, even today, all these years has really been rewarding to ensure that whatever they do, wherever they go, they're taken care of. And it's so important because these foster kids are the ones that are left behind.
Give us an example. What were some of the things that you were doing day to day?
So I oversaw a staff of probably around 30. And then I had some advocates. And so some of the cases were horrific. All the media cases were the ones that were mine. And so when you hear of a 3-year-old in a dog cage and can't stand up straight for 3 weeks because they were in a dog cage, that's when you do what you need to do to make sure that child will never be in that situation again. You know, when you hear of kids chained up in the backyard to a barbecue pit, which was another one of my cases, you ensure that whoever's going to have those kids forever is never going to do anything to those children. Those children should never have experienced that. And they're in homes now that they will never experience that ever. And so the outcomes for these kids are so important. There's some that the parents realized what they did, and we put the kids back, and the parents took some classes, and they're still being monitored, and they've done well. But our job was to make sure that wherever these kids went back to, that they were in a safe, loving home.
And were there opportunities where you saw the kids and the family have a successful, I guess you can say, restoration as far as coming together and get refocused and getting their life back together?
Absolutely. You know, I can think of this one family, and, you know, mom lost her temper and hit a few of them, and the school called and they got removed. And so it boiled down to the fact that she had some type of disorder, and she didn't want to take her medication. And then she realized pretty quick that without that medication, that she was not going to have the control she needed. So 2 months into it, she was taking her medication for 2 months. She talked, walked, acted like a totally different individual. And her kids absolutely loved her. When she did her visits, you could tell that she was a loving mom to those children. You know, without the medication, you know, the levels in her brain, you know, it just wasn't working right. So we monitored it for 4 more months, and those 4 boys went back home, and it was absolutely beautiful, you know, and we provided them some items they needed for their home to make sure that it was fit, and sent them home with some backpacks and clothing and stuff like that. But situations like that, you know, our goal is to make sure, or to try to put the kids back home when at all possible. Yeah. Sometimes that's not the case, or the parents continue to test positive, or they just disappear on us. And so then we have to find the next relative, hopefully, where there's a loving home.
If you're just now tuning in, you are listening to I Am Refocused Radio. I'm your host, Shemaya Reed, and this is on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. We are talking to Yolanda Valenzuela, the CEO of Alamo City Consultants, and leading up to the point where you had an opportunity to further this service of helping people. Mm-hmm. When did Alamo City Consultants come to play?
I started doing the contract work for Texas CASA a couple of months after I quit and left San Antonio CASA. And then I started having individuals approach me, call me, text me, message me, and they needed help with their nonprofit. And it got so heavy because I was helping different ones do different things. And they were asking me for my card and my website, and I hadn't thought about that. So the asks and the reaching out is what spurred me to create my business and website and everything else. From that point on, there's not a whole lot of individuals that do nonprofit consultation. I have the experience. I lived it. I breathed it. I did every position, and I know what it feels like. So at that point, I decided to start my business.
And everyone knows when you start a business, it can be scary.
It could be scary.
The question mark of what could happen, what might happen. For you, what was that process like for you?
Right. It can be scary, but for me, the way my business happened, it happened backwards. I had all these clients and really no business name. It was Yolanda doing it. And so I already had them all lined up, waiting, working for them, getting paid by them, and just under my own name. So that's when I decided I needed to do the business part of it. And I knew, especially what's happened with Alamo City Consultants is word of mouth.
Yeah.
Because there's not a lot, there's very few nonprofit consultants in San Antonio that have worked for a nonprofit, that have the experience and can provide those services. I knew word of mouth would be really good for me.
Word of mouth is awesome when you're in the business world, because nothing travels faster than someone's story. And when it comes to you building your business, you definitely had your passion and your purpose, and you were helping people still. Talk about that more when you started to have clients to come to you and ask you for your services. Break it down. What is it that you do for these nonprofits?
So every nonprofit is different, and on my personal Facebook and on my business Facebook, you won't see a lot of what I've done for different nonprofits, for the very reason that a lot of times if I am in a nonprofit, it's because they need a lot of help, or they just need processes changed or stuff like that. I'm real proud of being able to help nonprofits. I've written some of the stuff that you're asking me I've done for nonprofits is I've helped them rewrite some of their processes, their bylaws. I've done strategic planning with groups of board members. I've traveled 5.5 hours from here. I've traveled to Austin. I've traveled down to the coast to do some of the nonprofit work. I've done a lot of PR, a lot of media. I've done staff training. I recently hired a CEO for one of the nonprofits. Just in operational, I've done operational. I've helped individuals find nonprofits find staff members. I've connected, probably in the last 6 months, I've connected 5 to 10 that have gotten hired on with nonprofits as well. I found board members for nonprofits. And the most recent nonprofit, or one of the most recent nonprofits that I've been really heavily involved in, is Mahila's Heart Project. And I came in because it was a brand new nonprofit. And Gloria Rodriguez is the CEO. And she wanted me to come in because she said, I want to learn this right from the beginning.
Yeah.
And so I went in and I was showing her best practices and how to do the different things as a CEO, right? And so then she decided that to be using me in different ways for Mahila's Heart Project. And so what I noticed is that a lot of the CEOs in San Antonio for nonprofits, some of them aren't well known and some of them are. So I decided to expose her, completely expose her. So I was able to connect with every single TV station in San Antonio once, sometimes twice, and have her on to talk about her event, radios, podcasts, newspapers, and able to, for that, she had an event called Christmas in July for which you attended, and Deborah also. And I was able to raise about $120,000 for that one event as a nonprofit consultant. That's not typically what a nonprofit consultant specifically does, but for hers, I'm doing an all around, right? And so it turned out super successful, and we have some other projects for that I'm helping her with as well. But those are some of the things that I do as a nonprofit consultant.
Once again, you are listening to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here in the studio with Yolanda Valenzuela, the CEO of Alamo City Consultants, right here on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. And I'm your host, Shemaya Reed. Let's get back to this value system, because the theme of this show is help. that is what you've been doing since early on. You have been helping individuals, and that's what businesses are supposed to do is help, add value. But what you're doing is very special because you're helping nonprofits who are already serving the community in a very special way. How have you been able to keep that focus on building and scaling up your business, at the same time adding that special value?
So the human factor is like fuel in my fire, right? So when I have an agency calling me, texting me, messaging, now they don't need your phone number because of Facebook. They could message you. Anybody can message you and find you. So I get that all the time. And the human factor is what draws me in. So there's times when I know a nonprofit is just getting started, or they don't have a budget to pay me, and they'll reach out their hand and I'll provide some services. And so, as an example, a young man at 16, 17 started this backpack, day one bags and backpacks, Hunter Beaton. He'll be on, I believe, with you and tell his story. But he had some foster siblings in his house, and they came with a trash bag full of their garments and stuff. And he realized they needed bags, but he did it on a higher level. And he needed, recently, within the last year, he's needed exposure because, of course, he needs more bags to give out, more funding. And so what I've decided to do with him is not charge him. I'm not charging him for anything, and I've had him on a few TV stations already, and he's going to be on this one. And what that did is, I don't want to tell his story completely because he has great things to talk about, but he ended up getting a lot of donations, right? And it's a 18-year-old kid, I'll say, that's able to change the lives of thousands of foster kids by what he's done. And that warms my heart.
Yeah.
That warms my heart. Mahila's mission is love, hope, and joy. And those three are in almost every nonprofit consultation that I do. And because without the love, hope, and joy, if I'm not, if I don't have the joy when I'm serving these different nonprofits, that would be surprising.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if it's clothing or backpacks or autism or meals or whatever it is. It really warms my heart, and it lights the fire under me to do better and to provide more.
I like how you said light the fire to do better. Talk to the audience right now. And once again, you are listening to 9:30 a.m. The Answer. This is I'm Refocused Radio Show, and we are talking to Miss Yolanda Valenzuela, the CEO of Alamo City Consultants. Talk to that one listener right there who they want to be an entrepreneur and they want to go build a business, or maybe they already are an entrepreneur and they want to do better in their business. What's some words of wisdom that you give to that listener?
So one of the other things I do in the community, I MC things, but I also I'm a keynote speaker. So one thing that I tell those that are listening that say, oh, it's because this and that about you. I was the first one in our family to go to college, and I'm the youngest, right? And so it's determination and perseverance. What the listeners haven't heard is I have a son with autism. And way back when I had him, I was told my life was just him. Like, you're not going to be able to finish school. You're not going to be able, because I had to stop doing my bachelor's because my mom got cancer and I was helping take her to some appointments. And you're not going to return to school because he has autism. You're never going to be able to have a regular job because he has autism. Your focus for the next 50 years will be on your son, or however long. And it broke my heart that people thought that way. But what it did more is it lit a fire under me to say, I'm going to prove you wrong. And so those listeners that don't believe that they can do whatever their dream is needs to hear that. Because what I ended up doing is I said, I'm going to figure this out. And so my son started school at 3. I went back to school, got my bachelor's in psychology. You know, I went at night sometimes, and my husband took care of my son, and got my master's in counseling, then started working at CASA. And I never missed a day. In the 15 years I was there, I never missed a day. I kept adding up my hours thinking that my son was going to have some type of breakdown and I was going to have to take this big chunk of time. So I just persevered. And then I started my PhD in psychology. And so what I have to tell those individuals that believe in themselves, but other people don't believe in you, and they're bringing you down and they're holding you by the bottom of your coats and they're dragging you down, is listen to yourself and what your dreams are, what your hopes are, what your visions are. You know, the good Lord has put those in you for that reason, right? And He's an almighty God. So what He can do, nobody else can do. And so listen to what you have in your heart and what your passion is, and go for it, you know, because there's a lot of people there's more people out there that will tell you you can't than will tell you you can.
Oh, yeah.
Right?
That's nothing but facts right there. Mm-hmm. And I also want to just add to that is, it doesn't matter where you start. It's when you start that matters.
Right.
You know, because we can go through life talking about why me, or why does this have to be the way it is, mm-hmm. but you can't control what happens to you in life. You can only control how you react.
Correct.
So for you made a choice in a series of choices to push forward, mm-hmm. move forward, and build.
Right.
When it comes to people out here, or wherever you're from, what will you tell someone who's on the verge of giving up? Maybe they've been through so much and they're like, you know, but it's hard. Well, what will you tell that person to tell them to hold on to their dream, their vision, whether it's a business or it's 9 to 5, whatever it is, to better themselves? What will you tell that one person?
I would say don't give up, because I was on the verge of giving up, because I was hearing it from all these parents that had these special needs children that I surrounded myself with, telling me to give up. They were pretty much instructing me to give up, right? And I almost did give up. But I can tell you, I not only flipped it around education-wise and business-wise, but I can tell you I'm an expert in autism. I'm an expert in mental health. I'm an expert in special education. I can go to an ARD or an IEP meeting at a school district, and I haven't walked away from one of them where I, so to speak, lost. I got everything I needed to get, right? So I even used that to my advantage. Never in my life did I dream I was going to have a son with autism and have all these different things come up that, you know, I need to take care of with him. But it happened. God gave him to me. And so I can't use him as a stumbling block or a barrier. If somebody out there is being told they can't do something, prove others wrong and do it for yourself, first of all. Because it will make you feel so much better, because if you don't, you will never know what that would have looked like.
Was interesting. And once again, you listen to I Am Refocused Radio on 9:30 a.m. The Answer. Your host, Shemai Reed, talking to the one and only Miss Yolanda Valenzuela. And what I was going to say is, if you don't get anything else today, if you can get this one point, this one little detail, never quit. It doesn't matter what you face in life. If all hell breaks loose in your life, mm-hmm. there's a reason why you're going through what you're going through.
Correct.
A lot of times it's preparing you for your better future, but you have to act on it today. So I'm going to give you the last about 30 seconds and not just push your website, but say anything that you want to say to that one person, to say, this is your time.
To reach me, You can reach me at www.alamocityconsultants.com. And if you have any questions, any comments, or you need any help, special needs individual you have needs help, or you need resources or connections or services, I can connect you. I have thousands of resources that I can connect. I get calls all the time. But don't give up. Just know that there's that vision there, and it's reachable. It's reachable with your desires to get it, to be there.
Man, that's it, man. This show, like I always say, it is too fun because it's fun when time just rushes. It's like ice on the stove. It just goes away fast. But I want to say thank you to every single person who's been listening to this show. If you want to listen to more shows and even bonus shows, you can go to IamRefocusedRadio.com. And once again, don't go away because next week we'll have even more stories. So until then, thank you so much for listening to I Am Refocused Radio.
Hi, San Antonio. Need a barber? Visit our good friend Rico Rodriguez, the owner of Rockefeller's Barbershop in San Antonio, Texas, 1733 Babcock Road, and book your appointment today by calling 210-782-5188.